stand still in honeydew, and the wind can blow right through you. But I got a good man to keep me warm at night. Yeah, I almost forgot I was in paradise. Well, they give
Hey everybody, welcome to the Bundy podcast live from downtown Suck-a-Dick. This is the Bundy podcast. If you're listening, welcome to the show. This is our first time doing the podcast in a live setting, so anything could happen. A wild pig could walk by, and that could be something that you will enjoy later. I want to give a shout out to the people on our Patreon, on patreon.com/BundyLBC. These are the sweet cutie babies that have saw fit to grace us with a little bit of money to support the show. And if you want to support the show, it's as little as $2 a month. It's less than the cost of a big bag of chips, and you can help us out. Anyways, point of the story is patreon.com/BundyLBC, and I want to give a shout out to Allison, Anthony, Brenda, Donut Sounds Records, Frederico, George, Gustavo, Jairo, Julio, Manny, Marvin, Patrick, and Paul. Thank you guys so much for supporting the show. I love it. I love that you guys are helping us because it helps us keep the lights on, it helps us buy cameras, and it helps us get more guests in the show. So welcome to the show, Bundy the Podcast, the first live stream with Andrew Shanison of the Psychic Wave. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm okay. I'm a little nervous. I think I said that before we started, but I'm a little nervous. Got the jitters.
You're excited. It's good. It's a good feeling.
Yeah. What's the first time we've ever done this? So, and you do podcasts.
I do.
So you know what it's like. So when you can edit out any mistakes that you make.
Yeah. I don't do that though. I don't edit out anything.
Nothing at all?
No.
Never? Not even one time?
No. I've had people ask me to take podcasts down because they said something they didn't want to say. Yeah. But I don't edit them.
I've definitely had people who have come on the show and they've said like, oh, can you edit out that one part?
Yeah. No.
And then I'll totally forget to edit it by the time it comes around to editing the show.
Good.
And then it just goes up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
Very specifically, I had Allison Weber on the show, and she was smoking cigarettes at the very beginning. And she was like, please don't include the cigarettes. I don't want my mom knowing that I smoke or whatever.
Yeah.
I left it in. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had a few people who still live under their parents' roofs come on the podcast and tell really fun acid stories and ask me to take it down. I'm like, that was the most interesting thing you said the whole...
You got to leave it up if it's interesting.
Well, I respect people's...
privacy?
No, their wishes. But we've talked about this a few times because we both have podcasts. I wish that they would come already knowing what they're comfortable with saying and not saying.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think they get excited, and maybe I get some beer in them, and they just say some shit.
No holds barred.
I think they forget we're recording.
Yeah.
I think we're just having a conversation at a certain point.
Yeah. I always feel like people get really nervous when they come on my show, and I think it's because I intimidate them beforehand. I always
Because
say,
you're so handsome?
Yeah, exactly. I always tell them, if you fuck up, motherfucker, I'm going to murder you. So I think they know to be a little cautious.
Yeah, but that's, I don't know.
It's just intimidation. It's important.
I think it's fine.
Yeah.
I think that it's exciting to come on a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I know that it's like booming right now with people being able to do it yourself now. Everybody used to think that it's only like Joe Rogan and Mark Maron that can do it, but as long as you have a laptop and some microphones, you should try it.
Yeah, it's super easy nowadays with, you can buy like $100. Do you hear this buzzing thing?
Yeah, it's like a tight balloon fart.
Yeah, it's a tight balloon fart. Anyways, we'll keep talking through it. But yeah, so it's super easy to buy just like a small interface and use GarageBand and do a podcast or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's super cool that so many people are doing it, and I wish more people would do it.
Yeah, me too.
I remember you were talking to who was it? Someone on your podcast, and you were saying how I had told Paul Rosewater. I told him that he should start a podcast. I tell everyone they should start a podcast. It's super easy and it's fun.
Johnny, I feel like my audio and my headphones going out.
Yeah, we're getting weird over here. It's okay. It's technical difficulties, but
it's the live number one.
Yeah, live number one. What's up? Shout out to my boys on patreon.com. Anyways, so Andrew is from the Psychic Wave podcast, and he basically does what we do but out in Fullerton. And I got my inspiration to do this show from you, from going on to your podcast. And you were on my very first episode of this podcast.
Yeah.
And now you're on the very first episode of the live stream.
Yeah. I'm honored.
So thank you for coming.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Can you not hear me?
I can't hear myself.
I'm just going to talk really
It's all right. But yeah, you came on my podcast when it was, I think, under 20 episodes or something. And it was a long time ago. There we go. Thanks, Johnny. It was a long time ago. Yeah, different bandmates even for Bundy.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think we both have an affinity for talking to people. We really enjoy it, and it made sense to me that you started a podcast, and you've helped me from the beginning with mine. You gave me my
your interface.
My interface.
You still using that?
I am using it. The first channel went out, so I'm.
Oh shit! It's an old interface.
Yeah, but
it has more channels than 2.
But I like that we've both supported each other, and
right.
It's fun. Why would you not?
Community is super important to me. It's about helping each other.
No shit.
I
didn't get that from listening to
you
your
know what's
podcasts.
Interesting? I actually, out of all the people in the community, I would want you to fail the most. Which
you know,
is crazy.
sometimes when you start succeeding at something or you do something new, I'm like, that fucking bitch.
That son of a bitch.
God damn it.
That was gonna be me.
I gotta step my game up.
Yeah. So what's the darkest secret that you don't want to tell anybody on the podcast? What's the thing that you want me to cut out of this podcast, but it's live, so I can't cut it out?
Good question. I'm pretty comfortable with talking about whatever. So
you ever shit yourself?
Yeah, I've shit myself a few times, mostly when I was younger, but
not recently.
Not recently.
Yeah.
I've kept the not even a good shart.
No.
I'm a veteran with drinking, and I don't really do the drugging anymore.
Yeah.
But after a while, you kind of know when to halt yourself from shitting your pants.
You cut back on drinking on your podcast too.
Yeah, people were getting too wild.
Okay.
It's fun sometimes when you have a band like the High Curbs.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of like video content at that point for like post stuff.
I was under the impression that because you were doing it so often that you were getting shredded from doing it.
I was too. Yeah. It was that, and tied in with the fact the quality of the podcast was going down because nobody would talk into their mics. It was a lot of stuff.
We were saying before we started the podcast how like getting stoned is such a difficult thing to have a conversation with someone when they're stoned and they can't respond right away.
Yeah, I think when you're first starting to smoke weed, like it's great to have those conversations with your friends, but we're having conversations with bands that we respect.
Yeah.
And when you get too stoned, it just either gets into conspiracy theories or people can't remember the last 2 sentences they said.
Right.
So
to be fair, I love conspiracy theories.
I know you do, but I've heard enough podcasts to I'm done. I'm done with conspiracy theories. I don't need to hear anymore. It's like,
okay, well what's your, out of all the ones that you've heard, what's your favorite conspiracy theory?
my favorite?
Yeah.
No, I
you don't have any?
No, I mean, I think the moon one, the moon landing, there's a lot of gray area there, where I could see why people are drawing those conclusions.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, it's like, why does it matter? Does it matter if we went to the moon or not?
It does matter, because if my phone can't get me to the moon, then what's the point? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I hear you can crawl to the moon.
How so?
Anthony Kiedis said it in one of his songs.
Oh, okay. We're talking about some Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah,
shit?
I'm trying to get off of conspiracy theories. I don't want to talk about that.
Did Anthony Kiedis ever do any solo music? It seems like something that he should do. Just him beatboxing the whole time.
Yeah, no, I don't think he's done any solo stuff. I don't even know if he can play guitar.
I don't know. You'd think you'd be surprised.
Did you read his book Scar Tissue?
No.
It was really good. It's a really good autobiography. I came to respect him a lot more after that. I had always liked him, but I read that my freshman year in high school, and he's had quite the life.
See, I don't really care for Red Hot Chili Peppers that much. Like, I respect them. I like that they're doing what they're doing. I just can't really get into the music necessarily.
It's a little gimmicky now. I mean, it's overplayed radio stuff. But, growing up, learning how to play guitar, I learned a bunch of their riffs, and they were good. I liked them.
Yeah. The Frusciante riffs?
Yep.
Frusciante?
John Frusciante.
Frusciante.
Yeah.
Frusciante.
I'm listening to you say it. I'm like, that's...
How do you say it?
You can't even say my name. Say my name.
Shame. Andrew Shame.
Close.
Santa Shin.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
But you like making fun of my name, and it's a silly.
But
thing
also because I forget how to say your last name a lot. Santa Shin.
I feel like if you made an effort 3 times in a row, you would eventually just...
Like Beetlejuice, though. I don't want to summon you.
Yeah, you do.
I mean, I'm like in my bedroom, like naked, drinking a Gatorade, like I'm exhausted for no reason at all, and then you're like, Shanison, and then you just like pop up. What's up, bud?
I'd never appear because you'd say it different every time.
That's true. Yeah. So doing the podcast and stuff, I'm sure you've had a lot of crazy guests and stuff, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any crazy stories about your guests that have come on that you can tell?
Well, there's one that I've said openly, and we've talked about it multiple times, the band and I. But when I have Kid Chocolate on.
Yeah.
There's one of the dudes who he's such a sweetheart the whole time as he's getting drunk, but at one point he'll physically shut down. Like,
okay.
It's not even he'll fall asleep.
Which one?
God damn it! I'm so sorry, boys. I don't know.
I just had them on the podcast the other night.
Yeah. Fuck.
One of those guys.
One of the guys.
Yeah.
But he'll be looking at you, and you'll be talking to him, and he'll just start to like shake a little bit, just like this, like he's
Really?
having a small
Shaking?
seizure. But
Just like the fury just boiling up in his gut.
yeah. But
Interesting.
I had him on a second time, and he recused himself and just went to the car.
Oh, okay.
And so he's learning.
Pulled the Jeff Sessions. I'm gonna start saying that. Hey
Pulled the
guys, I'm
Jeff
gonna pull a Jeff Sessions. I'm out of here.
He was asked to leave.
Jeff said no. He recused himself from the investigation.
Oh yes,
against
yes,
Trump.
yes. Yeah.
So I think the worst that I ever had was I had a band on here. They were called SoCal Tennis Pros.
Yeah.
And we were drinking the whole time because they brought bottles of whiskey along with beers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So we were partying the whole time, and it was super good. And after the podcast, we were hanging out and having a good time. And I just like turned around and just threw up into the trash can.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that was a bad time.
I it's not a necessary, like, it's not a podcast thing, but members that have been on my podcast, we went to one of your shows when you played at the Slide Bar.
Oh, I know the story.
And then my barf story.
Yeah. No,
Should I
it.
not
Yeah,
tell
you should
it?
tell it. No, tell it.
So we were drinking back at my office after and planning to do a podcast or do something. It just didn't happen. So we were playing darts, drinking heavily, and Mike Maldonado from Iris, he pours me this huge shot, and he's like, "Want a shot?" And I'm like, "Just half of that. I don't need all of that." And he goes, "Nah, man, stop being a little bitch." And so I'm not no bitch. And so I take it.
No one's ever said that about you that I know of.
Okay, that's good. But so I take the shot, immediately feel it's coming up. Not because I drank too much, but it just hit my throat the wrong way. So I go outside real quick. Music's playing, nobody heard it. I barfed real quick. Some chili cheese fries came up from Del Taco. And I walked back inside. You know, nobody noticed anything. Everything's good. And then all of a sudden people start leaving. And I'm like, all right, cool. Like, see you later. 10 minutes after people leave, I look down at my shirt, and there's just barf dripping down my shirt. And
That's a good way to end a party.
Yeah, I also remembered I had tried to hug a lot of people that were leaving. And so
they gave you the side hug.
They gave me the side hug.
Yeah.
And that was, I think, the last time that I really, really embarrassed myself. Like, I can't remember a time that I embarrassed myself that badly where I had that, like, doom feeling of being embarrassed.
Sure.
Since, like, high school.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. When I was in high school, I want to tell this story. When I was in Mexico, we went down there with some friends of ours, and it was like my brother and like a close friend of ours and a whole bunch of people, and we got really drunk at this it was like our friend's vacation house or whatever. So we were in the hot tub, which was not hot at all because it's Mexico. Like, they don't have money to run a hot tub apparently.
Lukewarm tub?
No, not even that. It was freezing cold, but we were in there anyways because it was party mode, right? So we're drinking in there. And so then I get
You're
up.
like, let's get girls in bathing suits. Let's get in water.
It was just dudes in underwear, to be honest. But anyways,
Great.
so I was like, I gotta use I gotta go number 2, right? So I get out and I go to the bathroom, and I'm sitting on the toilet, and I just pass out. I'm just like passed out, like head down on the toilet or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then someone comes and checks on me, and they open the door, and I just hear of the door opening, and then someone like laughing, "Oh shit, he fell asleep on the toilet," and everyone's like laughing, and I look up and I just go, "I fell asleep."
That's what happened.
Yeah, it was super embarrassing to have my pants down by my ankles.
Yeah,
passed out.
I had a friend that would constantly get drunk and pass out with his pants down.
Yeah. If you're not getting drunk and passing out with your pants down, then what are you doing?
Well, he was one of those guys that really wanted to impress all the time.
Uh-huh.
And so he would try drinking with people that you should not try drinking with.
Sure.
And like me.
Uh-huh.
And
you're a big drinker.
I was at that time.
Yeah.
My first apartment. Yeah, we were polishing off handles.
The first
Captain
apartment's
Morgan.
always the one.
Yeah, lots of bad stuff happened in that apartment, but good memories. And he would like get sick every time.
Yeah. My first apartment was also a party house, and it was basically like it was a beautiful house. We paid a lot of money for it. It was basically on top of a big hill. Like, it was called Foothill, and it overlooked the city that we lived in, and it was beautiful. You could see everything. And The fucked up part is we had a sheriff that lived literally right next door, and he would complain every single night. But the cool thing was that our roommate he worked at Starbucks, and he was friends with like all the cops because he worked at Starbucks.
Yeah.
So the cops would roll up and be like, "Hey, you guys are being too loud." And then my friend Hyro would show his face and then be like, "Oh, Hyro, what's up, dude? How's it going? You guys are partying?" Yeah. Well, can you keep it down a little bit? Yeah, we'll try. And then leave, and then we'd totally be loud again. That poor sheriff, retired sheriff, and we're just like ruining his life. Anyways,
I mean, but you feel like he'd have to understand, right?
You would think that. I would be pissed if I was retired and I was living in like a nice. It wasn't like some shitty community. It was like the nice part of town.
Yeah,
that's where all the rich people lived.
Yeah.
So we just ruined his
Some fucker with blue hair moves in.
Yeah, I didn't have blue hair at the time though. At least not on my head.
Some fucker that was gonna have blue hair eventually.
Yeah.
You can always tell when they're gonna have blue hair later in their lives.
It was just one of those houses where like there was like a lot of bedrooms in the house, so you always had people like the people who lived there, and also like all their friends would always come over, and like we had the beer bong that never got washed.
Yeah,
and people would just get nuts. A lot of bad, same thing as you. A lot of bad memories, but a lot of good memories too.
Yeah, it's nice having a party house, and we were 19 when we moved into our first apartment, and so all of our friends they still lived with their parents, and it was like the home away from home for them. They could be there at any time, and we would just party super hard, take drugs, get drunk, and as far as I know, nobody got hurt.
Yeah,
I mean, we killed some brain cells, but it was a nice little moment of freedom.
Yeah, at the time I worked at a Round Table Pizza.
Oh, I love Round Table, dude.
And when you're working at a pizza place, you take home food all the time.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where I was literally like sneaking food out of that place.
Yeah.
And I would like bring home like
because you were like poor.
Yeah,
like,
of course.
living paycheck
We were
to paycheck.
super broke.
Yeah.
Everyone was super broke.
Yeah,
we were young.
First apartment.
And I was working at a pizza place. Of course, I was broke. So we would so I would like I would ring up an order for like 12 wings, but I would pack that fucking dish with like 20 wings or whatever, and bring them home, and then we'd all eat it. And same thing with my roommate. Because he worked at Starbucks, and at the end of the night they would have to throw everything away. So they would always pack. He would pack a whole garbage bag full of sandwiches.
Nice.
And we ate a lot of turkey sandwiches.
That sounds like you had it made.
It was pretty good.
Yeah,
but
I mean, you're not healthy.
No,
you're feeling like
but
shit 24/7.
Well, turkey sandwiches are not that bad, but you get sick of sandwiches after a few weeks.
Yeah,
but it was a good time.
I think you have to be, not that you have to be poor for a good amount of your life, but you have to live very humbly for a little bit to really appreciate the great stuff.
Things, the nice things that you get in life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just got a new car.
Oh yeah?
I'm very excited about it.
What'd you get?
You don't know about this because you were gone in New York.
Well, I haven't seen you in over 2 months, and I think that's like the longest out of our friendship that I haven't seen you.
Yeah. So I got in that time that we haven't seen each other, I've been going through a lot of shit.
You got a lot of new shit.
So I got a new car. I got a Kia Soul. Right.
Tight.
And for me, it's like my first car that I'm like making payments on and that stuff. And I'm 30, and I'm like, what the fuck am I why the fuck am I barely doing this whole like adult life thing? And I'm just getting my finances in order and all that whole business.
I'm so fucked, man. Yeah, it's you're all the stuff you're doing right now is like
what you should be doing.
What I should be doing, but I'm not. What
everyone should be doing.
I'll be getting my Kia Soul when I turn 30.
There's this guy that I love listening to named Dave Ramsey. Mm-hmm. He's a podcaster too, but way more famous. And he's a financial advice guru, and he's like, cash is king, dude. No credit. Don't ever do credit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, how are you supposed to rent an apartment if you don't have any credit?
Rich parents, dude.
Yeah, I guess so. But
no, I know. If there's holes in all of those guru stories.
Yeah. Well, he said his whole thing is like, if you save up enough money and you show people on your paycheck, like, I have a sick financial record, like I don't have credit, but I have all this money. Like they should. But who knows?
In a perfect world, yeah, that'd be great. But there's a lot of stuff that you'll just get passed by for because you don't have credit. Yeah,
which is fucked up. Yeah. Because these people. Okay, so he basically says in this program of his that that people who have like high credit scores, the reason they have high credit scores is because they've paid a credit company like thousands and thousands of dollars over a long period of time, and that's how you get your credit scores. It's literally a marker of you having paid a company lots and lots of money.
Yeah, that's the reliability they're looking for. They're making sure you can make payments. Is it? But
that's the con, is what I'm saying.
It's a little fucked. Yeah, for sure.
That's the con. It's like in order to establish credit, you are paying someone money over time, but in order to get an apartment, basic utilities, you have to have credit, which is fucking crazy.
Yeah, it's fucked, man. But there's better people than me that are going to change that whole system.
I don't think so. I think we're fucked, man.
I think there's people that are going to at least reform that stuff a little bit, but it's not going to be me. Look,
I don't think so. I think that because you're drunk. No, I think the other way around. I think that it's at some point our economy is just going to fucking collapse and the credit's going to be meaningless. And
Could
then you're just going to have to be like, hey, man, I have $20. Can I stay in your place for a week? You know?
Well, yeah.
Or not even money at that point. It's going to be like, I have 3 shotgun shells. Can I trade you for a day of sleeping in your apartment?
Well, here's the reason why like that doesn't really upset me. Number one, it hasn't happened yet, and number two, I know what the rules of the game are right now. I'm playing that game. If something else changes, I'll have to just figure that out. Like, I'm not gonna die and I'm not gonna kill myself, so I just got to figure it out, keep going.
Yeah.
I don't have time to worry about that stuff.
I'm talking about post-apocalyptic though. I'm talking about when you're.
I'm not gonna give a shit about credit after that. I'm trading you my raccoon pellets for like.
Would you be able to survive at the end of the world? Do you think?
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think I do. I don't think I would care. Honest, I've said this a bunch. I think if the end of the world came and we all survived, sorry, I'm burping. Sorry, but I don't think I would care enough to continue trying to survive. You know, I think I would just end it.
Yeah, yeah. I think you could pill yourself out. There's a lot of just go to sleepy time forever time.
Yeah, sleepy time forever time.
And yeah, that's good. I mean, it depends on what we're talking. Do I want to get eaten to death? Probably not.
Thank you. So, bringing up an ashtray. Thank you. Shout out to Tess.
So yeah, I don't want to get eaten alive. If there were zombies, I might just take the pill way out. But at the same time, I'm thinking about, like, realistically, if shit hits the fan, my main concern is my little brother. And so at that point, having somebody else to take care of, you're worried all the time, but you just do what's necessary. I've
talked to a survival guy. Like, there's where I work, this guy, he lives in one of the warehouses there. Thank you. And I had the same conversation with him. I said, if the end of the world comes, I don't think I'd be willing to do anything. I think I would just kill myself and just move on. And he said, yeah, you're saying that now, but when you have people that you care about, you're going to want to try to survive.
Survival just kicks in no matter what. Like, you just adapt. That's human nature. That's why we're still here.
How inconvenient would that be, man?
It would be very inconvenient, dude. Right now I go to the store and I can, like, have somebody prepare me food.
Dude, I'm so about convenience. Yeah. I won't wait in line for a restaurant for more than 30 minutes.
Yeah, but here's the thing, Nani.
I think it's bullshit. And hold on. And I won't. You know toilets.
I know toilets.
There's short toilets and there's long toilets. One of my requisites for moving into an apartment, if I move into an apartment, it's got to have a long toilet. Fuck a short toilet.
Are we talking long? What do you mean long?
So a short toilet is one of those ones. A short toilet is like where you have to, like, sit like this, and you're like cramped up on the toilet. And a long toilet, you can, like, you can spread out a little bit. You know?
Oh yeah, a lean back toilet.
Yeah. Well, the bowl,
lazy boy.
The bowl was longer. The bowl was longer.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know. So like things like that. I'm just saying, like, if the end of the world came, I don't know if I'd want to shit in the woods, dig a hole.
It's not about that. You wouldn't want to die. It's not like, oh, man.
No, I appreciate that, too. But I'm just talking about shitting in the woods. Something as simple as that. I'd be like, fuck this shit. I'm going to kill myself.
Do you not like camping?
I'm on the fence about camping. Because it's fun. I feel like if you have a cabin, it's, like, the best.
Well, here, I want to go back to a point before the camping thing. But you were saying you like convenience.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the things that you like, going to the store, bathroom, stuff like that. But doing all the stuff that you do with the podcast, the band, the people you meet, the people you interact with, it's not convenient. Like, this whole setup took you guys a lot of time.
Yeah.
And
Johnny does most of it.
Shout out Johnny.
Cut to Johnny. Cut to Johnny over there. What's up, Johnny? How are you doing?
Here's Johnny.
He's doing good. Johnny's in charge of all the tech over there. So he's actually the one that makes all this happen. I'm just the guy who tells them, hey, I have this fucking wild hair up my ass. Can we get it done? And he's like, yeah, of course, I can do it, but fuck you.
Yeah, but my point is you still do it. You have a worker's mentality. Like, if you want something, you get it done. And if, the end of the world comes and you've got to do stuff, I feel like you're going to do it.
Something that I really valued my brother for, as much as I kind of hated him too about it, is that whenever he wanted to do a project, he found the right people to help him get it done.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that he was good at getting any of it done himself. He just knew how to get people to help him get it done.
He's a boss bitch.
He's a boss bitch. Yeah, that's right.
There's nothing wrong with being a boss.
Right. And I feel like I got a little bit of that from him, and I don't mean it in like a nefarious way, like, ooh, I get people to work for me or whatever. I just mean like,
fuck you, Nani.
you see, yeah, you just surround yourself with people who want to get work done, you know? And like Johnny, very fortunately for me, is a guy who knows what he's doing, and he's able to get this fucking 3-camera show together.
Well, I don't think you're an asshole for being that way. I mostly feel like honored because you've had me on a bunch of times. We're friends.
Yeah.
And I feel like I don't have time for friends that are fucking around with bullshit that gives me stress or just frustrates me.
How many times have you had a friend tell you they want to start a band?
Actually not that many times.
Okay.
Because I was always the one in my friend group that was like doing that sort of thing.
Yeah. You didn't have a lot of your friends weren't like musicians or what?
Just the past year starting the podcast.
Oh, okay.
And I started to meet people like you.
You know, when I first went on your podcast and I asked you like what's your deal? Like have you been a musician in the scene or whatever? And you were like, no, I don't know anybody. I'm just doing this out of this like this wild hair that I want to jump into it.
Kind of. Yeah, I was in a real bad spot in my life where I was just sitting on my couch, getting really drunk and not doing anything productive with my life, and it all kind of fell to shit. And I realized I had interests that I could pursue, and I had no reason not to anymore. And I just did it because I needed to stay busy and not ruin my life.
So you hit like a rock bottom kind of situation.
Yeah, I just was not having fun, and I had nothing to show for my whole life. And so I took my interests and I found what I was good at, which is
inspirational,
like
man, to be honest, because like I think people who listen to this podcast, or people who are just starting a band, or people who dream of doing things like as simple as like starting a band that we're going to play at a bar. Like you have small goals, like, right, I want to play at this bar and blah, blah, blah. I want to be popular in my scene or whatever. It's not hard. It just it takes is actually just starting it, baby steps, just start it, and then just dip your toe in there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
and you did it.
Thank you. I'm still trying. But it's showing up and like putting in the work. But I wanted these really cliche things for my life. I thought that maybe taking the easy way out, you know,
suicide.
No, like, you know, you get an apartment, you then
get a job,
find somebody, you get married, you have kids, you get a job, you work, you have that happy backyard life, which is something that I still want, but not right now. And I just realized like that's not what I should be doing in my 20s.
Yeah.
It's not.
So that's your goal in life, is to like have kids and a white picket fence and all that?
My goal would be to have a studio where I could do my podcast twice a week.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a studio now, but have a nicer studio and have it be like my little playground, and make money solely off of that. Turn my screen printing company into a bigger thing to where I mostly just manage instead of doing the work myself. And then, also have a house where I can go away at the end of the day. And, you know, I like kids. I don't see why I wouldn't in the future, if I was financially stable, have kids.
You want kids? Yeah, interesting. You know, when I was a kid, when I was younger, when I was like in my teens or whatever, I thought that marriage was like the ultimate goal.
Yeah, me too. That's what I'm saying. Like, that was the pinnacle of like, oh, all I got to do is get married, and then, you know, my life's
everything's
fulfilled.
gonna be fantastic.
Yeah, but it's not the truth.
No.
You have to like, it's not. You have to like make your life worth it day to day, and not just rely on your kids or your wife,
right,
or your house to make you happy.
Yeah. So I grew up in a broken home. I grew up in a house where like my mom was an alcoholic, and my dad who was dealing with that, and he was, you know, he's an old school machismo Mexican, so he was just kind of like, I'm going to do whatever I want and fucking, you know,
and that's the way it worked
around or whatever. Yeah. So it was not healthy where I grew up.
Yeah.
In my mind, for some reason, I thought, oh, my family is not healthy, but that doesn't mean that I don't want a family. Like in my mind, it was like finding a family that was happy was my ultimate goal.
Yeah.
And so I actually, because of that, made a lot of mistakes when I was young. Like I thought when I was 18, I was going to get married.
Yeah.
And then when that didn't work out, I thought when I was 20, I was still going to get married. And I made a lot of mistakes, bad judgment things, because my ultimate goal was to get married.
It's so crazy to me that like that was our prerogative when, I mean, look at us.
Yeah, look at us now. Bunch of fucking scumbags over here.
No, but I think, I'm living this life right now, and in the future, for sure. Like, if it's right, it's right. But don't force it. Yeah, you just... I have a lot I need to accomplish before I feel like I'll be able to be a good husband and a good dad.
Yeah. You gotta have lived a life so fully, and not just for yourself, but for community and for people in your life that you care about, that eventually you become a well-rounded person.
Yeah.
That when you find someone that you really care about, you can care for them as much as they care for you.
Exactly. And I think too, like, you shouldn't have your life solely based on somebody else. Like, your happiness shouldn't be derived from somebody else. And me personally, I want to just be the best version of myself.
Yeah.
And all the other stuff will come.
Yeah.
It's not...
Hopefully.
No, it will.
Hopefully.
No, it will.
I mean, look at the draw, dude. I mean, you can have... Okay, look at, like, the story of Job in the Bible, right? You know about the Bible? You never heard of the Bible?
I mean, I've heard of the Bible, but I'm so...
So in the...
My family was not religious.
Okay, yeah. So in Job... basically this guy was like this perfect dude. He believed in God, and he like had a good family, and he took care of his community and shit. And then the story is that God was like, hey, devil, we're going to test this dude and see if he, after we make him go through all this terrible shit, if he still believes. And whether or not biblically, like, the story is about faith, about continuing to pursue happiness and taking care of people in the light of disaster and shit like that, right? So in that story, the guy, he did eventually keep being happy, and he was not rewarded. Like, it's just the luck of the draw sometimes. You could be a super awesome dude and take care of everybody and still have a bad luck of the draw and end up in the streets.
Sure, yeah, but yeah, of course. But with me personally, I have the most amazing family. I would say I grew up poor, but at the same time, we didn't want for anything. Mm-hmm. It was weird, but I know that I'll make it because I technically, like, right now, all the stuff I'm doing is for my little brother. It really is. I'm having a lot of fun right now, but my little brother with autism, when my parents go or when they're not able to take care of him at a certain point, he's going to be mine. And I can't not...
So possessive.
Make it. Well, I love him to death, and it's just I don't have the option to fail, so I won't.
Yeah.
He would never make it in the world by himself. If you left him in a house alone for 24 hours, who knows, he would walk outside, get hit by a car. Like, it's just I have a kid technically, and so I have to make it. I want to, for him, to give him the best life, because he's the most pure thing ever.
So let me ask you this. You're doing the podcast, you're doing the silk screening and all that stuff. What are you going to do if in a year the podcast is still where it's at?
I mean, keep going. What does it do? Take like 2-3 hours out of my Monday and Thursday?
Sure.
Keep going, keep doing that, but it's not going to be like that, because it's not going to... The production's going to get better. I'm going to have talked to, probably around 200 people at that point. You learn. I'm a learner. I learn and grow. Like, that's what I do.
I got a message on Instagram the other day from a kid who lives in like the Bay Area or something like that. And he was telling me, he was like, I live in a really small town where there's nobody who's necessarily like, there's some musicians out there, but it's a very small town. You know how it is in a small town.
Yeah.
And he was like, how do I start a band? Mm-hmm. And I was like, dude, just it kind of tripped me out, because like I've already been through all that.
Yeah.
So for this young kid to be asking me that, I was like almost honored that he would ask me, because he doesn't know who I am. He just sees like my Instagram or whatever and sees that I'm doing well. And so I told him, the best thing you can do is to go to open mics, to go to shows, and just show your face, just meet people. And same thing with the podcast. Yeah. Like, you're literally just meeting people all the time by inviting them in, and then eventually you create a community around yourself. You're creating a culture. Yeah. Which is something that I've been talking about a lot with like venues necessarily. Like, okay, so like a venue, like take for instance the Whiskey in LA, right? This very, very big venue. Yeah. But at this point in music, it's very hard to make money. So what they do is they have like pay to play, basically. Like, you sell so many tickets, and they're very short-sighted because they want to pay their bills. It's very expensive nowadays, right? To live, and rent's very high. Mm-hmm. But if they were to focus on creating a community, a culture, and having like these local bands, that maybe they don't draw at the beginning, but over time, because you keep promoting them, you keep promoting the night, like let's just say emo night or whatever, you keep promoting this night, eventually you create a community, you create culture.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think that's missing in a lot of venues.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't even say anything to combat that because it's true.
But okay, so not even just venues, but like for your podcast, you're creating a culture.
With my podcast?
Yeah.
I definitely have felt that my my world has gotten bigger.
Yeah.
And now I'm on a, what day is it? It's Wednesday. On a Wednesday, I made my way down to Long Beach to go hang out with friends and talk about music. It's such a simple thing, but you have to go to those venues, show your face, be friendly, be honest, and keep your word when you're going to say you're going to do something for somebody, and do it for the right reasons. And when you do that, people respect it and they'll want you around again.
Yeah, I think so. It's worked for us. For example, like we've had a lot of guests on here, and some of the guests that have been on here have hooked up with other guests that have been on here.
Yeah.
Like Twanner, for example. Fucking awesome dude, Anthony Vazarian.
I'm sorry. I need to shout that dude out because I've been lagging on getting that guy on the podcast.
Yeah, and he's a really fucking dope dude.
I listened to your podcast with him.
We actually played his music at the beginning of this podcast.
Oh, awesome.
But the point is, like, he's a super nice dude, and through the podcast, he has hooked up with like Newton's Darkroom and like all these other people, and so it's like we're fostering all together a community, and I fucking love that about this.
I don't mean to stroke our own dicks, but I was really excited to see on your comment section somebody say the two podcast kings, and it was like this really vain thing, but at the same time it made me excited that like we share an audience.
Yeah,
it made me so excited.
To be fair, there's not a lot of people in our areas that are doing what we're doing.
No. Yeah, I guess not.
Yeah.
But
it almost bothers me sometimes how bands can be very self-serving. Like I'm gonna talk shit. Sorry guys. We're playing a show with a band on Monday. This is at 4th Street Vine. Please come out. It's gonna be fun. And and they don't know how to promote themselves, let alone promote their friends. And it's like the point of like booking it's not the point of, but part of booking a band for your show is that you want to meet someone that's going to help you and you're going to help them grow.
Sure. I think that's like maybe a really good thing to start with, but in general, just go where you're going to go, perform well, be a good person, and you'll eventually just get hooked into other projects. But if you look at it in the way as like, I'm only going to go out because I'm going to meet people that are going to help me, you might get ahead, but you have to be honest and true with what you're doing and perform well.
Yeah.
Perform well. You can't just show up and people are going to love you.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You got to be nice to people too, man.
Yeah.
I've met so many bands that are just dicks. Give a shout out to Twanner. Twanner, what's up? He's listening. Podcast boys. Anyways, so yeah, doing the podcast thing, it's just we're like, I almost feel like, to toot our own horn, we are almost a hub for bands to connect with each other.
You know, I didn't like, I had heard people say that to me when they come on my podcast, and I thought they were just being nice because, you know, I supplied beer and we had a fun conversation and all that. But with you doing the live stream now, which is something that I have wanted to do, there's progress.
Yeah.
It feels real to me now. Like, we're not just doing this because we like the sound of our own voices.
It's a progression. We get better and better as we go.
Yeah, but I think because you and I mean, I definitely look up to you with the podcast stuff because your production is where I want mine to be.
Because my man Johnny over here, you need a Johnny, dude.
I need a Johnny, you know, but the thing is, I have been in the music scene a year, you know, and you've, not to take away from what you're doing, but you've been in it for a long time.
Sure,
so you rightly so have a lot of respect from people around you, and
I fucking hope so.
I've heard a lot of people say that you know, you are the guru, so to speak, of Long Beach.
I want to be the Joe Rogan of Long Beach.
Well, I talked with Anthony, a fellow robot, and he's like, I'm not leaving this life until Long Beach gives the key of the city to Nani.
To me. Ooh, what would I do with the key to the city? I'd sneak into like a
do
yogurt shop.
cocaine with it. Like, that's what you do.
Do a giant bump The biggest bump they got. But anyways, okay, so Andrew.
That's my name.
Your podcast, The Psychic Wave.
Mm-hmm.
Where can we find it?
Yeah, Apple Podcasts,
Stitcher.
You can find it on my website, www.thepsychicwave.com.
Yeah. And you also do silk screening for any bands out there that want to get shirts made. My boy Andrew makes some good-ass shirts.
Thank you.
And so we're going to... Johnny, where are we at with time?
I think we're like 40 minutes.
Okay, perfect timing. See, I got this internal memory from doing this so many times. Okay.
I can tell we were at 40 minutes because in 20 minutes I would usually pee.
Oh, okay. You got that pee sensor? It's just building up. Boop, 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 boop,
Self-timer.
Yeah, self-timer. All right, so Andrew, I always like to ask on the show, musician horror stories. So for people who are listening, it could be a story about when you go to a show, you're playing a show and some terrible stuff happens, or it could be like you were at a show that someone else played and some fucking dude got drunk and peed on your face or some shit.
That sounds fun. That's not a horror story.
If that's what you're into.
I'm not. Don't send me pee memes.
Send them pee memes.
Yeah, so I think I've told the one before where my first show, I got way too drunk and somebody stole my guitar. So I'm not going to do that one, and that's the whole story. But as a show promoter, there was something that happened recently that was just upsetting, and I think it fucked over some other bands. Because you create this bill of bands that you appreciate, and I brought this band up from San Diego, Nowhere Land, who are fucking amazing. And, I wanted to have a really good night, but... Okay, riddle me this, Nani. How long of a set should you have?
30 minutes.
30 minutes. This band played for an hour. Not Nowhere Land. Nowhere Land did not. They were on after this band. And this band was having the time of their life as they were playing. And they weren't looking at me when I said to wrap up, But they were just not being conscious of the other bands.
Yeah.
And so it kind of upset me because it's not just you up there on that stage.
I've experienced that 100 times, man.
And that's kind of a horror story for me because when you're in this music community, you should... It's not all about you, man. They played a great set. It was a lot of fun, but...
It should be about you for about 30 minutes.
Yeah, but be conscious of everybody else.
Yeah.
Like, you're not... I don't have anything against this band. I think they're just learning how to play in these venues. Excuse me. But don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that to other bands.
I recently went to go see a band called Hip Priest, and they were
I saw them at the Continental Room. Yeah, they're great.
They were amazing.
Really fun.
I saw them
Good
at Dizzy's on vinyl, and they were so fucking good. And the funny thing was the cops showed up and shut the show down.
Yeah.
And so when the cops showed up, the drummer, so the singer goes and he's like, all right, everybody, like, stop playing.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone stopped playing except for the drummer, because the drummer was so zoned into his drums.
Hell yeah.
That he just kept playing. And it was almost like this fucking awesome, like, punk, fuck you, cops drum solo.
Yeah.
But then he kept playing.
Yeah.
And then I realized as he was playing, I was like, oh, this guy has, like, no idea what's going on. He's just, like, playing the fucking song. He's in his own fucking world.
Yeah.
So that sounds like probably what happened with this band.
Not quite.
No, you think it was an ego thing?
It wasn't the ego thing. It was that they were performing as if they were the headliner at a festival.
Okay.
They were being too chatty with the crowd, and just having fun. But
they said that about at the drive-in. They said that they were a band that they played as if they were playing a huge stage, and people love that about them.
I know, but when you're playing the Continental Room,
Sure.
like, I love that venue, but mostly the thing that upset me was...
Do you think that people in our 2018 generation are too precious with music?
How so?
Do you think that people, they want it to be quieter, they want it to be more about the audience than about the actual music, about the band itself?
Look, art in general is fucked. Like, art is not just about producing a great song or a great painting. It's like Andy Warhol. We've had this conversation. It's more his story behind it. You can make a great song, but if people love you for all the other off-tangent reasons, you're going to make it. It's not like the best guitarist is the highest paid guitarist in the world.
Yeah.
And so art in general is just very fickle. And I think it'll always be that way, but just be respectful.
What do you look for in an artist? What's the thing that you value the most?
this is one of the things that band that played too long, this is what I valued in them. They had so much fun. I saw that they were having fun on stage. So I want them to have fun, but I want them to be themselves, you know? And I like a little bit of a fuck you attitude, but only because you're making your music. You're not making it for anybody else.
See, I think it's going to be fuck you, but still in respect of, like, the people who brought you there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
As long as they're respecting you, you can be respectful.
Yeah, and, you know, it's like, just do what you got to do, be conscious of everybody else, and have fun.
All right, so we're going to close out the podcast. Thanks for everyone for listening. Before we go, I want to say shout out to our Patreons over on patreon.com/BundyLBC. These are the sweet, chica little sweetie baby pies that have honored us with a little bit of their money. And thank you so much to you guys for helping us out, because it really does mean a lot. Like, as you can see, we are trying our best to support the music community around us. And we want to continue to do that. So if you like what we're doing, please consider donating at patreon.com/BundyLBC. Anyways, last question, okay?
Sure, let me, real quick.
Yeah.
If you're going to donate money to any band, Bundy deserves it.
Thank you. We're trying our best, man.
I know. I love you.
Thank you. Oh, I love you too, buddy.
I know you do.
Okay, so I always like to ask at the end of the show, and you know this, about musicians' advice.
Yeah.
I like to say it could be practical advice, like if your guitar gets stolen, make sure to bring an extra guitar just in case,
Yep,
you know?
that's what I did.
Or it could be more inspirational advice. What do you got to light a fire under someone's ass?
Light a fire under somebody's ass. Okay, well, I'm going to use you as an example. Find somebody, you don't even have to know them, but find somebody that you admire and fake it till you make it. Try to be like them. Don't change your morals to be like them, but if you see somebody that is doing a live stream and you're doing a podcast and you're not doing a live stream yet, put in your effort to start doing a live stream. If you see a band that has a great live show and you really respect them, put your time in to being like them. Do like the work that, just do the work. If you do the work, it's not going to matter if it pays off immediately or 10 years down the road. You're going to feel good at the end of the day if you're putting in the work. Put in the work. If you don't put in the work, you don't deserve it. I don't have anything to light a fire under somebody's ass. Just put in the work. If you're meant to make it, you're going to make it.
I think that is fire, man. I think that the very least that you can do is to just start doing it.
Well, put in the work so that you can beat out those other people that aren't putting in the work but have the glory that you want.
And there's so many of them that aren't doing the work.
Right, and they're famous. Beat those fuckers.
Well, lucky them.
Yeah.
They're very well connected.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Johnny, let's close it out. Thanks for listening to the podcast. I hope you gleaned some knowledge from this. And if you'd like what you heard, make sure to subscribe, share, and follow us on Instagram at BundyLBC. Follow The Psychic Wave at The Psychic Wave on Instagram. And have a good night, sweetie babies. Bye.